Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we'll answer the hypothetical question, if you were to only have one suit, what should it be? If you're a regular viewer of the channel, it should come as no surprise to you that here at the Gentleman's Gazette, we're big fans of suits. Wearing them, collecting them, discussing them, it's all good. And while it certainly is fun to grow a collection of suits, it got us to thinking. If you could only have one suit, what should it ideally be? So, if you're on the hunt for your first suit, or looking to minimize your wardrobe, then this is the video for you. First things first then, we need to explore the challenges we face today when it comes to selecting a suit. And the first of these is going to be the challenge of formality. As we've previously explored in videos on whether or not the suit is dying and the supposed end of quality menswear, things overall are getting a lot more casual in the 21st century. By the way, you can find those videos here. Indeed, it's becoming increasingly common for more and more places of business to forego the traditional business suit in lieu of something more casual. Of course, we've also got you covered there in our comprehensive business casual guide, but the question still remains for the average man, do I actually need a collection of suits to get me through the work week? Next, of course, there's the question of cost, as relative to things like polo shirts and jeans, suits can seem quite expensive, especially to modern men who have less experience purchasing them. And finally here, there's no denying that there are a plethora of options for customizing and choosing different details of suits that can be overwhelming to the newcomer. After taking all of these things into account then, you may be wondering if you even need a suit at all. But let's put those concerns to rest here, at least to some degree, by first saying yes, you should have at least one suit in your wardrobe. Throughout any man's life, there are going to be some events that require a higher level of formality than the typical day might, and this is where having one classic suit is really going to come in handy. As examples, we could look at weddings, funerals, christenings, or other religious ceremonies where wearing a suit is a sign of respect, romantic engagements, graduations, or a celebratory meal at a restaurant where the suit signifies your own personal investment in the event, and the times when a suit is used as a business tool, such as job interviews, meetings with clients, or just when you're looking to further your own career, where your suit will signify your professionalism. Effectively then, owning the right suit will allow you to be prepared for almost any eventuality. Of course, wearing a suit is all about looking and feeling great, so it's important to get the styling details correct. We'll begin this section by talking about color, as in many ways, color can be a deciding factor in the overall formality of a suit. So, if you've only got one suit and want to ensure that you can wear it to as many different places as possible, we would suggest a dark suit in either charcoal gray or navy blue. Darker suits are inherently more on the formal end of the spectrum, but they can also be casualized to some degree with the right use of accessories, as we get into more in our business casual accessories video here. But since a lighter colored suit, conversely, is harder to be made more formal, you'll get more mileage and use out of a darker colored suit. And, as we've advocated before, don't make your only suit a black suit unless you want to be mistaken for an undertaker or the missing third Blues Brother. A black suit is too austere and formal for many occasions. It can age poorly, as it's difficult to maintain a true pure black through dry cleaning or other garment maintenance, and overall, we find black to be the most overrated color in menswear, as you can find here. When it comes to a charcoal or navy suit, meanwhile, you don't have to worry about your ensemble looking drab. You can easily add vibrancy and visual interest either through the use of garments like shirts, socks, or shoes, and through accessories like ties, pocket squares, boutonnieres, or even shoelaces. After all, just because we're discussing only having one suit in today's video doesn't mean that we're also going to limit ourselves to just one tie or pocket square. To illustrate this point, look no further than this video, where I use one suit and a bevy of Fort Belvedere accessories and other wardrobe elements to create 7 different looks for a variety of occasions. So, as we've said, if you only have one suit, you want it to be as versatile as possible. The next question then is one breast or two? And no, we're not talking about fried chicken.
It's finger-licking good!
Ultimately, it's fairly easy to dress up or dress down a single-breasted suit, but it can be harder to dress down a double-breasted suit. Although, for a few ideas, you can consult this video here. And while the double-breasted suit has had peaks in its own popularity, such as the 1930s and 40s, again in the 1980s, and again in the 2010s around the release of the Kingsman films, the single-breasted suit has always been popular and a good option ever since it was first created. Single-breasted suits are also easy to wear with a matching waistcoat or vest, or for more of an attempt at a spezzato-like style, you could also add a contrasting odd waistcoat for even more outfit options. So unless you're particularly enamored with the look of a double-breasted suit and think that it will be appropriate for all of your possible occasions, we would recommend going with a single-breasted suit as your one option. Next up, we'll cover lapels, which are also going to have considerable influence over the formality of your suit. You're going to be best served in general by notched lapels, as they're the standard for business suits and they're appropriate across the widest array of different occasions on the formality scale. When kept within the classic range for width, which is around 4 inches or 10 centimeters, they're not going to be obtrusive or command too much attention. You may also want to factor your own stature into this consideration for how wide your lapels should be, but if you stick with that general range that we've just outlined, you should be fine, as opposed to having lapels that are too narrow or too wide. That being said, of course, it is your suit, so if you find that your tastes lean more toward the formal end of the spectrum, tastefully sized peak lapels could also... Oh, come on. Tastefully proportioned peak lapels could also be an option for you. If you find that they suit your face and your frame, and you feel comfortable wearing them, then they can certainly be an option. Moving on from lapels, let's next turn our attention to pockets, and we'll start with the exterior ones. As we discuss in our complete guide to pockets, they're an often overlooked aspect of suit design that can still have an outsized effect on how a suit looks. In general, the 3 main pocket types, from most casual to most formal, are patch pockets, flap pockets, and jetted pockets. To ensure maximum versatility for your suit, opting for the middle-of-the-road choice with flapped pockets is going to be your best bet most of the time. Recently, slanted pockets have become a more popular choice on gentlemen's suits, and while they have historically been considered a sportier or more fashion-forward look, they look good on slim gentlemen and can provide the illusion of slimness on some more portly gentlemen as well. A traditional addition to your array of pockets can be the ticket pocket, but keep in mind that it will add a slight note of asymmetry to your jacket. When it comes to selecting a breast pocket, you've got the same options as for your hip pockets, with another option that has become increasingly popular in recent years, the curved or barchetta pocket. This will add a bit of subtle flair and a relaxed touch to the jacket overall, but again, for maximum versatility, a straight breast pocket is probably the way to go. Exterior pockets are going to have a more significant effect on the overall look of your suit then, but let's briefly look inside and cover interior pockets as well. Interior pockets exist primarily for a gentleman's own personal utility, so if you'd like to spring for more pockets than the conventional 2 interior breast pockets, like a fountain pen slip pocket for instance, this is just a matter of personal choice. Next up today are buttons. I explained basically everything anyone would want to know about buttons in this comprehensive video, but in general, know that buttons in mother of pearl, horn, or Carozo nut could be a good investment. In terms of both aesthetics and durability, they're going to add a touch of elegance to your suit, and if cared for well, can actually last longer than conventional plastic buttons. For your navy or charcoal suit, then, this will typically mean going with dark blue, dark gray, or dark natural horn buttons. High contrast buttons can be fun, of course, but they will make an outfit more casual overall, and this will sacrifice a bit of versatility. So leave those gold buttons for your blazers in particular, and for other colorful buttons, save those for when you're growing your collection even further. More important than the material of the buttons, though, is how they're arranged. The most common choices for single-breasted suits are going to be 2-button, 3-roll 2, or 3-button styles, with 1-button jackets gaining popularity at different points in time. For most situations, though, a 2-button jacket, or 3-roll 2, which essentially functions in the same way as a 2-button, are going to be your most versatile options. They represent a good middle ground in formality, as opposed to the 3-button jacket, which, with its high buttoning stance, can look overly formal and a bit stuffy. 3-button jackets also have the tendency to look a bit dated, as Lucius Fox points out here.
I need a new suit.
Yeah, 3 buttons is a little 90s, Mr. Wayne.
I'm not talking fashion, Mr. Fox, so much as function.
For more information on this topic, though, as well as a complete guide on how to properly button your garments, consult this video here. Meanwhile, when it comes to cuff buttons, the number on your sleeves can vary, but 4, the number that was originally championed by English tailors, is the standard now. For a bit of added personality, you could select 3 or 5 cuff buttons, but any more or less than this are going to be distracting. Before we move on to the trousers of the suit, let's also briefly cover vents. At the rear of the jacket, you've more or less got 3 options, which would be having no vent, having a single vent, or having a double vent. Having no vent is the most formal and traditional option, and while it will look best if the suit is truly fitted well to you, it can also look a bit awkward when you're sitting, or if you like to put your hands in your pockets. Meanwhile, as the single vent has its origins in horseback riding and other casual activities, that casual association still remains. So again, for your one and only suit, we'd recommend going with the middle-of-the-road option, which in this case would be a double vent. Next up then, let's get into trousers. Your 2 most important considerations here will be pleats or no pleats, and cuffs or no cuffs. For the most part, these are going to be dictated by comfort, body type, and personal choice. For instance, most of the trousers in my own personal wardrobe are currently flat-fronted, which works well with my slim build, though I do also like the look of inward-facing pleats and hope to get more trousers featuring them in the future. Meanwhile, uncuffed trouser hems are going to provide a clean and sleek look, and while I don't currently have any cuffed trousers in my wardrobe, I hope to get more of those at some point as well. Raphael, on the other hand, finds pleated trousers not only to be comfortable, but almost a personal requirement as he has large thighs. And he likes cuffs, or as the Brits would say, turn-ups, on most of his trousers, with the exception, of course, of the more formal styles such as black tie, white tie, and morning dress. And for the most classic look, you may want to consider going with high-waisted or high-rise trousers as well, and you can learn more about those in this video. All things considered, it's best to think ahead a little bit when considering your trouser hems. Cuffs are going to help your trouser legs hang a bit better on your frame, and they can be removed later if you so choose. Plain trouser hems are going to look neat and more formal, but it's impossible to add cuffs to a pair of trousers if you don't have a fabric reserve. So, when it comes to your one suit, consider the formality level you'd like to have, and so long as you have a good fabric reserve, you can make whatever decision you'd like over time. And as far as pleats go, they're going to create a more comfortable trouser, and they're going to be hidden by the jacket's quarters most of the time, but you don't need to add them if you don't want them. Next up then, let's cover fine detailing. For many decades in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, fine details like Milanese buttonholes or working cuff buttons, sometimes called surgeon's cuffs, were hallmarks of a high-quality suit. But changes in suit manufacturing techniques in recent decades have led to these features becoming far more common, even on cheaper, lower-quality suits. As examples of these more subtle details go, then, vertical pockets on your trousers can be useful, especially if you need to discreetly keep things in them, as James Bond often needs to do. And sticking with trousers, side adjusters are literally going to give you more room over time for potential weight fluctuations. So, when it comes to your suit's additional details, opt only for those that you truly like and that you can afford, and remember that subtlety is always going to be more elegant than flashiness. Now, regardless of whether you're looking for just one suit or indeed for several, the most important factor to consider is always going to be fit. We've talked extensively about this topic before, as you can see here, but if you're only going to have one suit in your wardrobe, fit is of course going to be paramount. So, when it comes to the overall cut of your suit, we would recommend avoiding both an exaggeratedly slim cut, which may be trendy now, but will eventually fall out of fashion again, just as it did after the mod look of the 1960s waned, and also to avoid an overly loose or billowy suit, which will have the tendency to look dated and won't do your frame any favors overall. Instead, focus again on a pleasing, neutral cut that isn't so narrow that will make it look as though you were squeezed into your suit like a sausage casing, but also not so wide as to give the effect that you don't have the pleasing silhouette of a broad shoulder and narrow waistline. This well-fitted, middle-of-the-road suit, then, will always be in style as it's going to accentuate your best features while hiding your flaws, but not doing either in an extreme way. For the majority of us, a suit is typically going to be purchased ready to wear or off the rack. There's nothing inherently wrong or bad about this, and indeed it is entirely possible to find a good quality ready-to-wear suit that covers all of the criteria we're discussing in today's video. As an example, you can look at the suit I'm wearing right now. So, with a ready-to-wear suit and a brief trip to the alterations tailor, your overall cost should still come in lower than a high-end bespoke suit, but you'll have a good fit and most of the proper details we've discussed today. On that note, then, you can find out more about what an alterations tailor can and can't do in this video. Next, we'll get into fabric. Worsted wool is the gold standard for most business suits, and it's the choice we'd recommend for most men. It's reasonably hard-wearing, insulating when it's cold, and breathable when it's hot, which makes it a good choice for a year-round or all-season suit. For comfort, you might be tempted to go with a lighter weight fabric because you'd think it would be cooler. But especially lightweight fabrics don't drape well on your frame and also tend to wrinkle easily. You're better off then taking other steps to stay cool while looking cool. As an example, if you live in a warmer climate, you might consider getting a suit that is half-lined. Of course, if you live in an extremely hot or tropical area, you may want to consider going with linen or some of the other hot weather suit fabrics we discuss here. And if you live in an extremely cold climate, you could go with a heavyweight wool flannel and consider layering up with overcoats. But for most people, suits in things like seersucker or tweed aren't going to have as much versatility as a standard worsted wool suit will. As our final main point for today's video then, let's cover construction. One benefit of limiting yourself to a single suit is that it can be a true investment piece. All the money you might spend on several suits over multiple years can instead be put into one high-quality suit that should last you decades. If cared for well, this suit should be able to be worn for a variety of occasions and will establish a particularly good cost per wear. Allegations that suits are inherently uncomfortable can put many men off of buying and wearing them, but these allegations usually stem from men wearing cheaper suits in the past, which do have a greater likelihood of being uncomfortable. So, for your one suit, make sure that you invest in quality when it comes to workmanship and materials at the highest price point that you can reasonably afford. One of the biggest areas that will aid in a suit's overall comfort, then, is the construction of the jacket. Increasingly often these days, even ready-to-wear suits can be found with a canvased interlining, which will mold to your body over time and be more comfortable in the long run. Raphael goes into more detail about the differences between a $1,000 and $100 suit in this video, but in summary, a lower quality suit is typically going to be made with inferior fabrics like polyester, nylon, or other artificial fibers that aren't breathable, are too stiff to be comfortable, and often look shiny and cheap. A glued interlining that will make you look stuffy and will eventually come loose. Poor workmanship that will lead to loose threads, easy tears, and uncomfortable fits, and unattractive cuts with ugly styling that is either too boxy or too sharp, looking either dated or trendy, and with poor assembly like deep-cut armholes that are going to restrict your movement. So, how much should you spend on your one suit then? Ultimately, this is of course going to come down to your own personal financial situation, but remember that investing up front in quality can often pay dividends for the future. On the other hand, though, it should also be remembered that a well-made suit doesn't always have to be expensive, as you can pursue the vintage route as well. For tips and tricks on effective vintage shopping, you can find our video on that subject here. And if you find that online shopping is more a suitable option for you these days, we've also got you covered on that front with this video. To summarize the points of today's video then, we can look no further than my outfit rundown for today, as in today's video I've endeavored to wear a suit that serves to meet many of the criteria we've discussed. The suit is charcoal gray with just the subtlest hint of pattern and texture to its worsted wool weave, and it's also single-breasted with 2 buttons, a double vent, and notched lapels. It's got flap pockets and 4 cuff buttons on each sleeve, and the trousers are flat-fronted and have no cuffs. In its original configuration, the suit is 3 pieces, as it does also have a matching waistcoat, though it can of course be worn in the simpler 2-piece style as I'm doing here today. I'm wearing a plain white shirt with a typical point collar and barrel cuffs, so no cufflinks today, and my shoes are classic black cap-toed Oxfords. Adding hints of color today then are my accessories from Fort Belvedere, and we'll start here with my socks, which are in charcoal gray to harmonize with the suit, but do also feature subtle clock patterns in red and white. My pocket square is in plain white linen with a contrasting red X stitch, and my mini carnation boutonniere is also in white but with magenta accents. And finally, my tie is in red madder silk with a geometric micro pattern in buff. While there are slightly varying shades of red across the different accessories in my outfit, they are all grounded by the charcoal gray of the suit and work harmoniously overall. And to find all of the Fort Belvedere accessories I'm wearing in today's video, consult the Fort Belvedere shop here.